News,
traffic,
weather,
sports.
The KDKA Afternoon News. News Radio 1020. KDKA.
Well, it's 508 News Radio 1020 KDKA. We've had issues on the roads this afternoon, and we're going to get an update with Jimmy Miller coming up here in just a few minutes at 5:15. Also, we'll be checking in with the AccuWeather forecast. We do have that winter weather advisory in effect late tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon and evening. And if you're up in the ridges, you actually have a winter storm warning in effect. We'll pass on those details coming up. So stay close to us here on KDKA. With us on the 84 Lumber Project Professionals Newsline right now, State Representative Jesse White out of Washington County, and the Democrat joining us here on KDKA. Representative White, good to have you again.
Thanks for having me.
You caught my attention this morning once again with another release and going after the state DEP again. You're upset about what you call incomplete water quality testing again because they're using a set of tests that differ from what you describe as a more comprehensive test. What exactly are you worried about here?
Well, first of all, this is something everybody should be worried about. And what we're talking about is whenever the DEP comes out and does testing on people's water, if there's a concern of contamination or impact, especially near Marcellus Shale drilling sites. And it's not a matter of the different tests that get done. The water is tested in the DEP labs regardless. What the problem is that the DEP field operatives use these little 3-digit codes. They're called sweet codes. And what they do is act as a filter to see how much information comes back out of the DEP lab and into the hands of the property owner or the leaseholder. And we knew of two different codes, 942 and 946, and they were bad enough. Well, now we've just found out through a right to know request that there is another code, a 944, which is specifically designed by the DEP to check for Marcellus Shale impacts. And we're finding out that they've never even used it.
I'm going to stop you right here just so I can explain this a little bit as I understand this. The codes you're talking about refer to different types of tests which identify contaminants. One of those codes identify apparently 8 contaminants, the other one 16 contaminants. And what you're suggesting is that those are very restrictive tests. The one that you're talking about that they don't use, I guess, tests for more than that.
Well, again, it's not the test is the same. The test is the same, and that's maybe the most maddening part of all this, is that the information is sitting at the DEP in their lab, but they're only choosing to release the results for certain things.
Are these okay, go ahead.
So it's not a matter of using a different test. It's all one test. These sweet codes, all they are filters that filters out the information that comes out of the DEP lab and back out to the resident.
And because I've got to get to the other side of this story here in about the next minute or so, if you can, in about 60 seconds or less, tell me what you would like to see DEP do.
Well, the DEP needs to really start being honest with people. First of all, I have a bill that's House Bill 268 that says that the DEP has to release the information to people that want it. And that would include leaseholders, that would include landowners. Right now, the DEP is hiding behind the open records law. I don't care what they say when they come on your program here shortly. I've been talking to people all over the state. The DEP is stonewalling. They've stonewalled me personally. Here's what it boils down to. There's no excuse whatsoever for the DEP to restrict information. That is, their job is not to decide what is or isn't important. And I would think that if Secretary Crancer or Governor Corbett had 2 glasses of water put in front of them, and one had been tested using the more complete sweet code that tested for 45 things, and the other one tested for 14, they would want to drink the one that they know had been tested for all the components, because we're talking about things that are very harmful.
State Representative Jesse White, I got to cut it there just so I can give equal time in the segment here, but we appreciate you joining us, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and joining us also on the 84 Lumber Project Professionals Newsline, spokesman for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, Kevin Sunday. Mr. Sunday, welcome back to KDKA. We appreciate it.
Sure, thanks for having me on.
Kevin, you just heard State Representative White. Is the DEP stonewalling and not putting out all the information it has available in the best public interest?
No, first I do want to make a point that there's millions of Pennsylvanians out there that rely on private water wells, and the DEP doesn't regulate those per se, but we do have a lot of strict protections in place to make sure that drilling happens safely. And if there's an impact that we determine happens, the drillers have to restore or replace that water supply. And we're going to take very strong action if we see that. The biggest fine that was ever issued in the history of Pennsylvania, we've been drilling for more than 150 years, was this administration in a case that involves methane migration. So we're certainly not afraid to take strong action when we need to.
Okay, regarding these tests, because I only have a limited amount of time, I want to make sure I get you on point here as far as these tests are concerned. Are these tests that are requested by homeowners, or are these part of a package that when Marcellus goes into an area or gas drillers, it's part of your regulation?
Right. Well, Representative White talked about 2 or 3 different SWE codes. In fact, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of different requests we can put into the lab to do. It's not as easy as just going to the lab and saying, what's in this water? The lab needs to know what to look for. So these investigations are very fact-specific. If we think there's an impact from fracturing fluid, there's one test. If we need to look for methane, there's another. If we need to look for volatile organic compounds, it's a third. It's not unlike if you went to the doctor and needed to get blood drawn. The slip that you take to the lab has a couple different check boxes off of it so the lab can run the right test. The things that he's claiming get restricted are extra data coming out of the machine with it. That doesn't get quality assured and quality controlled, so we have no way of knowing whether or not it's a valid result. And in fact, it's not even the most relevant or critical parameters to make a determination of whether or not drilling impacted the water supply. The tests that we have give us a sound set of data to make a determination of whether or not the water supply got impacted by drilling. And we stand behind every determination we've ever made using these tests.
He is arguing and says in a published report, wondering whether or not DEP told field inspectors not to use 944, and he wonders why out loud should a test reveal that someone has a specific chemical, well, they ought to be told no matter where it originated, saying why in the world would we choose not to tell them that? I think you've partially explained that, or if you haven't already, but address that.
Sure. And again, when we do these tests, we're looking to make a determination. If we don't think that drilling was at play here, that's not the end of the investigation most times. Mm-hmm. We can also look to coal mining, landfills, right. Nearby infiltration from a junkyard, say. I mean, there's a number of things at play here, and we're certainly very forthcoming with the results of our tests to homeowners.
Okay, so in other words, the bottom line is your tests that you're doing are up to standard, they're legal, and the bottom line is where he said, the additional contaminants don't necessarily come into play. I hope I'm summarizing you correctly there.
You are, and our inspectors have the discretion to do whatever they need in every investigation, which each investigation is different. They have a number of tools they can use to get to the bottom of where the impacted water might have come from.
Kevin Sunday is a spokesman for the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you.